interesting enough, there's a time lapse because I see them when you went through your hair. I saw the movement live.
Okay.
And a bit later appeared on the screen because I can see you.
Funny.
Yes.
That's the real Abstand situation.
Hello and welcome to our Curator Conversations. This year marks the 20th anniversary of the Edith Russ Haus for Media Arts. And now I am talking to the directors of the house, Marcel Schwierin and Edith Molnár. Welcome to this talk. You work here as the director since the November of 2014, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you can start telling us, like, what goals did you have set when you started working here for the Edith Russ Haus of Media Art?
Want to start?
I just want to mention that I don't think that immediately we had a goal when we arrived. We were just really enthused by the fact what a lovely of a size of the house and institution is this. Personally, I was really stunned by the idea that a city like Oldenburg had the courage and the ambition to have such a house. And then we actually started to move in, get to know the colleagues, the structures, the way how the whole administrational, institutional things were working. Everything in the center was focused for us in the house and the building, which actually I think it's very rare. It's perfect for a solo exhibition. It's absolutely delicate for a double exhibition. We had lots of very fine constructed group exhibitions. So I in the beginning, I was really stunned how this house stands in the landscape of the German cultural and art scene.
How do you see the role of the Edith Russ Haus of Oldenburg, in Oldenburg, of media art in Oldenburg?
I mean, it's a challenge because Oldenburg, of course, it's a very cultural city. It's a university town, but also it's a bit hesitant towards contemporary art. This is what we learned immediately when we arrived here, and also a bit hesitant towards media art, maybe especially. So on the one hand, we have the national and international reputation that the house already had when we arrived, and we tried to strengthen this. But the local audience was hesitant. And what we did is that we started a lot of collaborations with other institutions. So we tried to open up the house and say, look, we tried to find common things which the house shares with other institutions in the city, and let's make something together there. And this is something I think that worked out quite well. But it's another loss of the Corona times, of course, because we realized a lot of collaborations cannot happen, or they happen on Zoom or on distance.
The Corona also was an incredible fallback for us because next to the collaborations, what Marcel just mentioned, we thought that the permanent offering of workshops and different activities and thematic guiding tours, language learning guided tours, and also school projects can really tighten this relationship what the house has. And I think we were already on a good path, and from April on, we actually had to stop all these activities. I personally find it extremely nice coming to the office and seeing that already school kids were queuing at the seminar room. And this is an incredibly sad and missing feeling on the daily basis, actually working now.
And for example, one thing we did, we tried from the first exhibition to translate the content, because of course international contemporary art is mostly in English, and we felt and we saw that there's a barrier also between the art and the local audience. So we translated them. At the beginning we tried subtitles, but this is very hard, very expensive, very time consuming. And now we make a voice-over dubbing. And this works quite well. It took us a while to find this out. And so this is also little steps to make a stronger bond between us and the city.
Maybe when we think about the history of the house, what kind of exhibitions did you start with? Like, are there nice memories you think about which you reflect on when you're working now or when you're planning new exhibitions?
So the first two exhibitions actually we did, both of them were kind of double solo exhibitions. The first was for Jumana Manna and Sven Jona, and it was actually very challenging for us because we're really big fan of both of the authors' oeuvre, but we never worked very closely with them before, and immediately jumped into this challenge of even forced to their works to have a dialogue between each other. That was challenging, but I think I had a really, really nice memory of a very strong kind of start. And the next exhibition afterwards tried to also immediately conceptualize somehow this new relation to the city. So the Repairing the City exhibition by Kevin Aladag and Leopold Kessler from the beginning kept in mind to actually start this dialogue with the local community, with the city itself.
When I now think about the title, it's really like we could say not repairing the city, but repairing the relation of the Edith Russ Haus to the city.
Yeah, it's
somehow
really
this
not
was
a
the
wise
subtitle.
It was not really a wise title. I think it was our subconscious
Yes.
decision.
But I think somehow it worked, and we had this carpet by Nevin Aladag that led from the house practically into the street, into the Katharinenstraße, and this was somehow the bridge we built, you know. This was something people reacted very strongly. So people came into the house and just asked, what is this carpet out there, you know? So you're building a red carpet for the audience. And with the first two exhibitions, we also wanted to make clear it's not only media art what is seen here. So in both exhibitions, there were also sculptures and objects, you know, photographs, so that you can see it's not only videos and computers that are running here.
Maybe we can talk a little bit more about anecdotes. We heard like stories about crazy openings with Elvis or with artists who got locked in the house. Did you also remember this kind of crazy happenings at events at the Edith Russ Haus?
Or the anecdotes I have are so extremely specific for making an installation, and what I find like, the day before the opening, it turns out that the fluorescent paint on the floor, which seemed like nothing under a black light, glows. I mean, it sounds like hilarious, but if it's happening just before the opening and an installation which requires total darkness cannot happen, because there are engraved, inbuilt previous shows are kind of buried into the building. That was shocking.
I mean, one has to say that this was from the very first installations at the Russ Haus. And we always saw these little traces of color at the ground, and we didn't think much about it. But with the black light, they appeared suddenly. And then for the first time, we saw that it was this fluorescent color. And this was somehow interesting because the artist we were showing, Zach Glass, so we built up the show, he also used green, fluorescent green on the ground, but a completely different pattern, of course. It was 20 years later. And so somehow the history of the house and the actual exhibition came absolutely together. And another thing, maybe an anecdote, which were, for us, not really funny, it was also a difficult one, was when one of our artists, Szabolcs Kispál, he's from Hungary, and he's not only an artist, he's also a political activist and was very strongly active in Hungary in a kind of resistance against Orban. And he was arrested. And so we saw images of handcuffs, you know, our artist in handcuffs.
He was actually arrested exactly a week before the opening. We worked on a new project with him. He was a grant holder. So he spent pretty much time here in Oldenburg, in and out. There was a very, very strong also intellectual dialogue what we were having. But just before the opening, we were waiting for him to travel back to Oldenburg for the installation phase. And this is exactly one morning I saw they were active with a very important civil organization in Budapest, which was against the eviction of house renters. And they actually wanted to protect a whole family, as far as I remember, not to be evicted by the police. And all the activists were taken in very dramatic images. They were taken away with handcuffs. And this is the image what we saw just a week before. And both like curators and directors' reaction, of course, it's awful, like, oh my God, he won't be able to come. How the whole project. Yeah, but that was a moment. But exactly this is the moment which shows the urgency of the projects which we are working with, because of course, all these activist works were very, very strongly built in all Kispál-Szabolcs work. So that was the fuel behind, that was also the anger behind the whole project.
Yeah, but that's something I find quite interesting, because often you do some exhibitions here and a few years later they are being in the discourse out there, in the discussions out there. So you did it a few years ago and now people are talking about this, and we can say, yeah, like 2, 3, 4 years ago, we actually worked to this topic, and so we have like resources or we have like publications or something. And also like every other exhibition, like downstairs, the exhibition room looks so different. Like there's a wall, then it's gone, then there's a huge mirror, then there's something else. That's also something which is super cool, that this house can just change.
Of course, we have an audience that's always coming to every exhibition. And so we said from the very beginning, we want that they always get nonetheless a different experience. Like anytime they go into a little bit like a different house, you know, so as far as it's possible with inner architecture. Of course, there are limits.
Okay, maybe we can talk a little bit about this anniversary situation this year. I mean, 20 years, that's a long time. What were your plans for the anniversary if Corona didn't happen?
We started the year with, this was the first thing we wanted to do with the performance of the Costa Company, and this was a collaboration with the Staatstheater Oldenburg. And we were quite happy about it, how the space was used by the Costa Company. It was a dance piece, but also using media art elements. And now looking back, it was very interesting because a lot of people gathered there and they sat really shoulder to shoulder in the space. And it was the last time we could use the Edith Russ Haus properly, like it should be used. And also the second presentation of this project we already made in the aquarium, so people could only see it from outside, but not going in. And yeah, all the other plans were shattered by Corona, which is very symbolic and also for us very sad, of course, you know, to make this celebration now. But well, part of it are these interviews we are doing now. We have a new logo, for example, for the house, which was planned before, which we just released silently. And of course, we planned a big party with performance, you know, with invited guests of the house to celebrate a little bit together what was achieved in the last 20 years by the previous directors, by all the artists that were here. And yeah, all this couldn't happen. So we are still thinking when we can maybe make this, of course, on the 25th, but it's still a while.
Slowly we will show with the new website next year, with lots of publications we are still planning and working on as we speak. And also we are really looking forward to the new grantees, because we had 3 wonderful artists who were getting the grant in 2020. Of course, none of them could travel. None of them could even start to plan their projects, lacking the possibility to actually come and see the house, to start any kind of lively conversation about what is feasible and what not. And this is, I think, is the most energizing aspect of our work, that we are really looking forward to meet them and plan their projects for next year.
What else are your plans for the future of the house?
I think this is a big question mark, to be honest, because whatever we thought to do and to develop the house is now really questioned, and not only by the Corona pandemic, but also by all these questions that arise around Fridays for Future, the climate change, because the art scene is a very international scene. There's a lot of flying, and it's very much based on personal contacts. We also had to realize now that the collaboration is much more difficult if you do everything on Zoom. You need the physical meeting with people. You need the meeting in the space. If this does not happen or not happen often enough, you lose something.
So we still have lots of also conceptual ideas and directions, but what Marcel said, this whole very complex narrative, how we find ourselves in 2020 will influence everything, how we can redefine the house, how we work together, how we travel, whether we travel. So at the moment we have more questions, to be honest.
Okay, well, I mean, your questions are something we can, as an audience, maybe look forward to what will come. And I will thank you for your time for this interview, that you could sit down with me and talk a little bit about the house and about your work. And I hope that you maybe are looking forward for the end of the year, maybe the holiday season, to be like a little bit festive at home when we can celebrate here. Maybe there's something which will make you happy. And yeah.
Thank you for organizing the series of interviews.
Yeah.
And thank you for your time.
So have a nice day and bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.